Welcome to the Off-Pitch Podcast, where we show you the alternative sides of football by sharing stories and skills from all players of the pitch.
So, let's get started. So we're back with another podcast episode at the Off-Pitch, or the Off-Pitch podcast is on again. This time we have some better mics, and I actually did some recording already with Connor and with Ireland and Brinjar. I think I need to do them again because I didn't have a good enough mic.
All right.
But I'm lucky to have Luca with me, Luca Chiarvesio. Did I say it right?
Chiarvesio.
Chiarvesio.
Yeah, Chiarvesio. Hello, everyone, guys.
And, the reason why we started this podcast is to give the freestyle football community an insight to how the top athletes train. And specifically for you, you're most known for your lowers and, your hardcore moves. And I think a lot of people would be interested in knowing more about how you prepare, how much you train, and also more in depth. Because when we speak to each other, it's like you might say, okay, I'm training for 1 hour, I do this, that, but more specifically also giving tips to the community to see if they can learn something.
For sure. Totally understand that. I think it might be better to talk about how I trained before rather than in the past year, which was more difficult due to COVID, of course, and due to not being able to meet everyone and have a good contact with other people and other freestylers. But before that, I think one of the best lessons that I learned is that if you put too much pressure on yourself, it will end up hurting your progress. And if you just go out and try different things without putting this pressure on yourself, just try, for example, to practice for fun and see what you're good at on a specific day. That will always help for the progress.
Okay, so you don't only mean because, like yesterday when I was doing the other podcasts, you see you in the circle, you're doing tricks, people are watching you. I've also been used to doing that.
Yeah.
And it was quite easy for me to step into a circle when I felt like I was in good shape. But it might be harder for people when they don't feel like they're in their best shape. But you also now, you're not only talking about going into circles, you're talking about just being also relaxed when you're training for yourself.
Exactly. For the circle thing, what you're saying is totally true. But I feel exactly for what I said that at some point you shouldn't really care. Like even if you're not in your best shape, freestylers should still remember that to be on the top level, you need to be training almost every single day without taking breaks. Otherwise, your level just starts dropping.
Okay, so you mean so you're training every single day, or do you have any times off?
Talking about now, or talking about, for example, my best moment.
Okay, let's now first start with some basics. Can you tell us more about maybe when you felt like you were in your best shape, how much did you train every day? Like how long, and did you train every day? Did you have times off? Tell us a little bit about that.
I think the best time for my lower progression and my career as a lower freestyler was in about 2017 and 2018, because I was about 22, 21, and at that time I didn't have too much work to do, so I could focus a lot more on building the level, on breaking the limits and improving just technical on the technical side of it. And basically on that time I remember I used to practice almost every day when I got the chance, because I had some goals that I wanted to reach. I was inspired by other freestylers who were on my same level. I remember, of course, and it's still up to this day, the level of Alex Ivi is about the same as mine, so we just motivate each other and it just works like that.
You guys are also known to push each other's levels and impact and everything.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just much easier to push the level when you know there are other guys that are threatening for you and are pushing their level as well, and you never know what they're going to come up with. And that is just a motivation to keep building and pushing myself the level.
Definitely. But okay, so during those days, almost every day, how long would one session be, or do you? Yeah.
So let's say one of the things that I learned back in the day was that I needed to do something new or something that I had never done every day, which doesn't mean that I have to do something incredible, something impossible, but just a little twist, a little different connection in a combo would work. And if I manage to do something new every day, it would contribute for my progression. Okay, so considering that, it was every day I would go out for a session, and I would start without maybe with a particular goal. Okay, I would like to do this in this training, and then during the training I start with the warm-up, and I see some tricks are better than others, and then at that point maybe I can try that combo that I fixed in my head before, but it doesn't work out, so I just need to redirect on what I saw works better on that day. And like after I find the sweet tricks for that day, I keep pushing on those, and at some point it might be that I come up with a new combo that I notice has pushed my level beyond what we used to be in that side of freestyle. And yeah, I have applied this concept in every training basically.
I think that's a really good thing. And also remember when I was training much like harder lower combos as well, it's hard, like even though you can feel really good one day, but then when you start training you might not feel that strong in 3 revs that you wanted to, or and like you said, trying to explore and figure out what's the tricks or direction I should go for this training. The same also Erlen and Brinjar said that you kind of get to know that during your warm-up, so it's not always as easy. Even though today I really want to land that combo, today might not be the day for that type of tricks.
Exactly. It might be that you need to take some days off from that combo and just go back to it fresh on another day, another week, and out of nowhere you do it, and you just learn that the way to do it is finding what works on every single day.
Definitely. I also think that's a good tip because you might then think that this is not gonna be a good session, but instead of if you're too focused on one aspect of freestyle, then you might just end your session there. But instead, if you have the mindset that you said and try to apply that, okay, what other tricks can I do? Because you need to do something new, then you will improve. It's just that today it's not the 3 rev day. Today might be the
2 rev day, the no
stuff
touch
like
day.
Yeah.
Let's try some alternative 2 rev no touch. For example, I have done let's say a freestyler has done Tuzani alternative Homi Tuzani no touch, and he has never done it with Homi Mitch. If he manages to do it on that day, it's just a new twist in a combo, and it will contribute a lot both mentally and on the progression side.
Exactly, yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so I also want to get more into depth of, because even though we speak about now the mentality of how to think, I also want to know, how did you become so, I want to say, fucking good? Like, how did you,
Thanks,
how do you think about, you know, your techniques and how you perform tricks? Because I spoke to Connor earlier, and we talked about 3 rev, for example, and the way you kind of move your upper body over the tricks to get more power. Do you have any specific tricks or techniques that you can give the people watching or listening?
Yeah, for sure. So let's pick the free rev, because the free rev, I think, is the side of freestyle that pushes it more to the limit.
Yeah, so let's not do 4 revs, because you're...
Yeah, the 4 rev, you can pick that trick, but it also includes the no gravity technique. So the free rev, I think, is perfect because it totally gives the idea of the physics behind freestyle.
Agree.
And I think we are going to talk about physics also now. So for the free rev, in every free rev trick, there is a first revolution, which is connected to a Magellan. So, for example, Scala, you need to learn the Magellan technique. If you don't learn the Magellan technique, it's going to be really hard. And also, in every free rev, there's an alternative 2 rev or a 2 rev no touch that needs to be trained and improved in order to facilitate the ending of the trick. Okay, and yeah, basically, if you work on the start and the ending for the free revs, you will get good at free revs. If you want to become good at the Zegan, you need to practice a lot the start, and the start needs to be really quick around the world. When I do these tricks, I give a lot of spin to the ball.
Okay, so you always think about 3 revs as kind of 2 moves, or you separate them, so you think about the start and the ending in a way.
I actually yes, but also no, because when I say, for example, the Scora move, I see the Scora move as a whole. But I know that for the Scora move, I just need to get the right first rev that I know where it goes due to the muscle memory, and I know how to do that first rev with a lot of spin. And with more spin to the ball, I think it tends to stay slightly longer in the air. There's more grip with the air. I thought about this concept many times.
That's a valuable point. I didn't really think about that.
No,
but
because when you give a lot of spin to the ball, it just keeps rotating,
makes sense.
creates more grip with the air, and it might be that stays slightly longer in the air.
And it's exactly like, have you seen when people are throwing off their balls from really big heights and it gives them spin?
The basketball?
So that's a valuable point.
Might be similar effect to that. And also, back to the score move, I think I need to do a really good first rev, which sends the ball in the right spot, and then I need to connect the alternative omituzani. And I practice a lot the alternative omituzani no touch and the reverse Cora no touch, because if I can push a little bit more on that side, the ending becomes much easier. So let's pretend for every trick you just need to build the basics of it, and the basics are either Magellans or alternative Magellans, and the ending with alt 2 revs and 2 revs no touch. And when you put those together, you become very strong in the 3 rev side.
Yeah, I think that's a really valuable point to try to break down the tricks and look into the tricks that the other 2 revs tricks that builds up that one and become as good as possible. So if you feel like you're not even close to landing a 3 rev, don't start practicing too much that 3 rev. Look into the other tricks that are
look into the tricks that build the trick. Exactly.
Valuable point. No, I think that's really good to know. But also regarding, of course, it's genetics and everything, but you're really fast. You know, your speed is insane, and sometimes it might be hard to even know yourself why that is. But do you have any things
for the speed?
For the speed.
The speed, I think there are in freestyle there are 2 things: the technique and the speed. And if you got both, you can do any trick. And for the technique, you practice the 2 revs, the tricks that include a direct touch. So Lemonses, Magellans, all these tricks, even like 3 revs, when you get to the 3 rev point and you start practicing those, you are indirectly training the touch of each single trick in a more extreme way. If you practice an MP trick, you're training the touch of a reverse back, but more aggressive because you need to go with the alto mituzani. And what was the main point again?
More about the speed, like how do you practice
the speed.
Get the speed?
So for the technique, you practice indeed these tricks with the direct touch, and for the speed, I think it really helps to push yourself in alternative tricks. For example, score around the world, alternative lemon smith, and especially these single moves after a crossover in no touch mode. Because when you push yourself to go after the ball really quick, that you're reaching the ground, it nearly looks like there's no more time or space to complete a move, and after some years of training you can do that easily. Your speed is totally improved. And
no, I totally
so the answer is training. Maybe I think the best tricks are alternative 2.5 revs for speed, all the variations.
That's a really good tip. I also think just looking at, because for me, I feel like I'm not the fastest freestyler. I'm quite tall.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you can compare it to Usain Bolt. He might be, it looks like he's slow, but when he then gets his speed, then he's really getting
absolutely.
high speed.
I think being taller a bit contributes to you being a bit slower compared to, for example, a guy like Memo, which is like the perfect example of fast guy and a bit shorter. But with longer legs, you might theoretically push the level more in certain areas.
Yeah, but also like in regards to speed, I think like we also said, but looking at you as well, you're really good at just keeping your body over the foot, because I also realize when I do PATV, if I tend to move my body backwards and my feet are out, my speed tend to slow down. I'm not that fast.
It is affected, and I think that's because of the technique in the 2 rev no touch and the alt 2 rev no touch. Because when you learn how to make a Tuzani score around the world no touch, you need to absolutely stay on the ball and look at it like that. And then when you think about the Scalamich, it is the exact same, except you are making the things easier with the ATV at the start. So the Scalamich at this point, at the start I used to think it needed to be a really fast Scala with a crossover in the end. Now I just see it as a really good first revolution, and then there is a scorer around the world connected, and I just don't even think about it, because the moment you start thinking about it, what you're doing while you're doing it is too late. You're not going to do it.
But do you think that also has something to, like the mentality of thinking of tricks? Like you said, you can look at Scala as half around the world to score on, or Scala Mitch half around the world to score on no touch, or you can think about it as Homie to Sani to
Mitch
no touch. Does that make
I think this letter that you said, the Homie to Sani to Mitch no touch, would make things harder for me in my head, because in my head all these tricks, all these free revs, it's all about the first revolution. One tip that Ethan told me back in the days, in free revs, if you can reduce the time between one revolution and the other, especially between the first and the second, so then you're left only with the third, that's the best. If you can reduce this time at the minimum, the free rev will be easy. So let's pick another one, the Homie to Sani Lemons. I just think I need to hit the ball perfectly on the weak foot, and if I just send it there, I just think it's a high Homie to Sani. So I just go there and I just think about the alt elements as soon as I guess the first rev, and this just flows well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I also feel like you said, for me it's so important, especially with the tree revs, the first touch has so much to say.
Yeah.
And also just think the way you think about tricks also might make them simpler for you in your head, so they don't seem too complicated or hard. And also especially when it comes to 3.5 revs, because then the crossover, if you think about, the tricks, not in a wrong way, but if you think about it as Homie Mitch to score a note, to score ATV, then the crossover might look not as good.
Yeah. You need to think about the alt 2.5 rev, which is directly connected, because if I think about, for example, Homie to Sani Lemons Mitch, there is an alternative 11 Mitch in my head, which just turns the first touch into an around the world.
Yes.
And it becomes a 3.5 rev. And talking about that, another point I could say is that I just try to, the more controlled your juggle is before the trick, the better it is. If you can just kick the ball in the perfect spot before the trick and just move your legs as if the ball wasn't there, as if you're just moving them in space, and just the first rev needs to be so perfect that it takes close to no energy away from you. And in that way you're just moving your legs in the air. Due to muscle memory, you know where the legs need to go, and you guess the tricks like that.
That brings me to another really fun thing to think about. When you see people especially when it comes to lowers, when they're loading up for a trick.
Yeah.
For me as well, if it's a really hard trick, for example, for me, alternative Eldo.
Yeah.
I've struggled so much to get it. I can stand there for so many seconds, and it feels like I never get that perfect touch.
Yeah, the mental block.
Yeah, and for some people that might be a really big problem. They never get to actually try it.
Yes, I had it many times.
This
mental block.
Yeah, how do you do to crack that code?
So this I had this from the start. The first times I got this was for PATV. I started juggling forever, and I could never get the touch on the left foot to send the ball in the perfect spot for trying PATV. And then I still get it nowadays for harder tricks. And I think at some point I started trying this way of juggling to avoid this problem. And I just think about doing a score no touch pattern with juggles. So for example, if I need to do a trick on right foot, PATV, I will do right, left, right, left, PATV. And I focus more on the score no touch with juggles, keeping in mind that I need to do the PATV. So I focus on that score no touch, but I know that after the fifth juggle, the PATV needs to happen. Otherwise, I start back from scratch.
I do something similar. I don't have the double touch, but I have on the fifth touch, whatever I do, I have to try it. So even though the build-up is wrong, I just do it just because I need to mentally just connect.
And maybe after you unlock that first attempt, you just don't care anymore, and you do the second, third, fourth attempt without thinking too much, and the mental block is removed. Yeah, no, I think that's this is really good points. I don't think we should keep the podcast for too long. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Also about this thing of the mental block, instead of doing a sequence of juggles in particular at the start, do another trick. Do a 2-rev, do an around the world.
Good idea.
Like Rocco does around the world alternative Eldo. I did my first alternative Eldo like that. and I think it can help.
And also, I feel like if you struggle too much, then it also might be a sign that the trick is maybe might not be good enough. Sometimes it just takes time, but I also feel like if I'm struggling too much, then it might not be the right time for me now to...
I think the only tricks I saw in my career that were too far are the tricks that I knew were too far, and I just tried for fun. For example, a triple Magellan, I know that if I start training it will look so far that I know it's impossible. But apart from that, all the tricks I did in my life didn't take too long. The 4F took 5-6 days in a row, every single day, losing, forgetting about everything else. But all other tricks, basically, I don't want to say few minutes. That's most of the time, but one session most of the time. That's it. Yeah.
I think we will keep this podcast not too long. I hope that we can do more episodes, but I wanted to this is really nerdy stuff, so for people that are watching that don't know about freestyle, this might not be that interesting, but this is more for the community to better understand some of the best athletes that we have and to get into their brain and mind of how they think about freestyle, and this was some really valuable points. If you guys haven't already, please check out the Off-Pitch app, download it, and you can track your training. Check it out, and also check out Luca's Instagram. Should we link to anything else? Instagram, YouTube?
Yeah, and check it out. Check me out on Instagram and YouTube. Luca95 freestyle, Luca Chiarvesio. And there are so many things to say. I hope the guys can find something valuable in this. Happy to talk about it.
Yeah, I do think some of the freestylers really love this kind of talk. So let us know if you would like what you would like to know more, and what you would like me to talk to with Luca about next time. Maybe we can get really nerdy into some other topics as well. So
I'm ready for that. Next time,
awesome.
We do it.
Really appreciate this, Luca, and let's let us know what you guys think, and see you guys in the next podcast episode.
Thank you, bro.
Awesome, really good.